Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I'll be sharing another game between Robert James Fischer and Mark Taimanov. This is round 2 of their 6th round candidates match, and I hope that you enjoyed it. Last time I showed round 4 of their candidates match, which is the most instructive game. So here is another instructive game. This one's round 2, and let's get on our way, and I'll show you how Fischer completely destroyed Mark Taimanov with his masterpiece. So here, Fischer plays e4 as the starting move, c5, knight f3, knight c6, d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, e6, the Taimanov variation of the Sicilian, named after Mark Taimanov himself, and he always plays this and has an extremely good score. Here, knight b5, d6, and here Fischer plays a dubious move. He plays bishop f4, and after e5, bishop e3, knight f6. Now he places his bishop back on g5, and this just isn't a good continuation. After bishop g5, here black should play a6, and now this exploits, because normally in the Sveshnikov, white already has his knight on c3, and here white is just down full tempi, and this is just good for black. However, Taimanov, because back then they didn't have theory yet, so Taimanov was playing a lot more greedily, and he played queen a5 check, which at first sight seems actually quite good. After queen d2, which is almost forced, Taimanov can play knight takes c4, and now trade. And it looks like the black should be up a pawn for nothing, but actually in this position, black is quite a lot better. So here, firstly, knight c7 does not work here. After knight c7, black can play king d7. After knight takes a8, knight takes g5, that knight is trapped, and black should be better here. However, Fischer does not have to play knight c7. Fischer just needs to retreat his bishop back. And now knight c7 is an actual threat, so black has to defend. Here, Fischer plays inaccuracy, knight 1 c3. However, a better move here would to actually be playing f3. The main reason that white plays f3 is because after knight f6, now white just takes that pawn on a7, and this is completely sound, and white should be quite much better here. Instead, here white plays knight 1 c3, which actually exploits this, and thus it means that black, after playing knight takes c3, will bring his knight back, and that's exactly what happened in this game. But now here black plays king d8, knight b5 comes back, bishop e6, long castles, b6, and here white playing an extremely good move, so take your time and maybe you can spot the answer. Okay, so in this position, Fischer played f4, and this move is extremely good because it breaks up black's pawn structure. So after it breaks up black's pawn structure, now black cannot really hang on to these pawns, and here Taimanov is practically forced to take. And now Taimanov has these ripped up pawns. And now Taimanov plays knight b7, bishop e2, bishop d7, and here Fischer plays another inaccuracy. He plays rook d2, which is technically a waste of time, because here, after bishop d7, if white played a4 instead, white will protect the knight with his pawn. Now white is threatening bishop f3, and this is extremely nasty. So here, after bishop d7, rook d2 was played instead, and now after this, bishop e7, rook hd1, bishop takes b5, bishop takes b5, and as you can see, after black was forced up to give up his bishop pair, because back here, this pawn d6 is falling, and it's going to hurt. So here, black gives up the bishop pair, and it looks like the black is still up a pawn, but here white is just a lot more better. So here Taimanov is actually greedy and wants to hang on to the pawn after rook e2. So Fischer waits, he doesn't really care. So now Fischer takes full control of the e-file, so Taimanov comes for the c-file. So a few moves, and here Fischer plays an extremely strong move, b4, preventing the knight from coming out. So here Taimanov plays a5, and here Fischer plays bishop d5. And here a takes b4 is impossible, because here rook e7, and now this continuation wins both minor pieces, and white is completely winning here. So After bishop d5, king b8 is played, and here white plays a3. After rook fd8, bishop takes f10. So Fischer decides to grab this pawn, and now Fischer has equal material, but now this pawn on d6 is also equally as bad. And here Taimanov plays an inaccuracy. He plays bishop c3, but it's almost extremely difficult to play, and now black is almost screwed. And after bishop d2, d5. And here white has another move. Fischer did not play the best move here, but take your time and maybe you can find this move played by white. Surprisingly, the extremely unintuitive move bishop takes c3 is the best move here. And this is extremely unintuitive because after rook takes c3, black is attacking the a3 pawn here, and now the b4 and a3 pawns are all quite weak. But here, now white has the amazing move rook e8. And the whole point behind this move is white is threatening this rook here. And black decides to take, which is obviously a bad move here. White can play rook e7. And white is attacking this knight, preparing rook takes b7, followed by rook d8. So here, black must take. White checks again. Now black has to come back, and now white plays bishop takes d5, attacking now on b7. After knight d6, white just takes all the kingside pawns, and white is winning here. So this is how bishop c3, an extremely unintuitive move, is extremely strong, because after rook takes c3, rook e8. That's an extremely strong move that white missed. However, back here, white played rook d1 instead of playing bishop takes c3. And after rook d1, here, black plays d4. And the whole point of d4 is to protect this pawn. And now Fischer realizes that he can take, but now it's slightly late. And after rook takes c3, king b2, d3. So now Taimanov is able to get rid of his bad pawn. King c3, d takes c2, rook e1, knight d6. And here bishop h5, knight b5 check, king b2, a takes b4, and a takes b4. So Fischer is just about to win a pawn and then be a pawn up, but black obviously has a lot of compensation. And after rook d4, c3, rook h4, bishop takes c2, knight d6, rook d1, so still attacking this weak knight, king c7, and here finally Fischer plays h3 and protects his pawn. Now black plays rook f4, rook f1, rook e4, bishop d3. As you can see, now the knight's controlling these squares. Now the bishop is controlling all of them. So this is an extremely standard bishop to knight formation where white's bishop is 2 squares in difference from the knight, and white's bishop guards all the knight squares. This is an extremely common motif. After rook e5, rook f2, h5, c4, rook g5, king c3, king d7. So far so good. And now white has this clear advantage, and this endgame is known as the Fischer endgame, which is rook and bishop versus rook and knight, where the side with the bishop has the advantage. And the reason why it's called the Fischer endgame because Robert James Fischer just plays it so well. And now this game is practically in Fischer's hands, but Fischer actually doesn't play that well in this position. So Fischer plays rook a2, which is heading towards this side. g6. g6 is the best move here, but here king c6 is a bad move, which looks counterintuitive because c5 is coming here, but now something like b5 check. And after king c7, which is forced, king c5 is walking into the mating net. And now king cut off, and here white should be winning here. So here Taimanov must play king c8 immediately, which is not the best move. g6 is the best, but it's still okay. And after king d4, king c7 now, rook a7. Here king c6 doesn't work because of b5. So those are the arrows. So king d8, c5, b takes, knight e8. And here Fischer plays another mistake. He plays rook a2, which is not that good of a move. So take your time, and what would you play as an alternative for Fischer? Okay, so if you found out that Fischer should play bishop b4 here, you're correct, because after bishop b4, his bishop's on the long diagonal. White wants to play c6 immediately, and the bishop protects this important pawn on g2. And rook a2 here, is just way too passive, because now after rook e2, he protects that, but knight c7 threatens 96, so bishop c4 guards against 96, king d7 threatens knight e6 again, and after rook b2, king c6. Now rook b6 is the only way to save the pawn, but then g2 will be under threat, because now bishop d5 is guarded by the rook. So now Fischer plays bishop b3, but now knight b5, and now Fischer has to give up control of c5. And here, Taimanov plays a mistake, actually. Taimanov should not play king takes c5. In fact, Taimanov has a much better move here. So take your time and maybe find the best move for Taimanov, which will have practically drawn on the spot. Okay, so here Taimanov's best move is rook e5 check. Now the reason why Taimanov should play this is because now white has two moves. He either plays king d3, which means his king is cut off here. Now black can play king takes c5, and this is a dead draw. There's no way for the king to attack the king side now. And after rook e5, if king f3, then knight d4 check is also an extremely powerful move. And now, after king f4, rook takes c5. Now this knight is one tempo ahead. There's knight e6 threats, knight takes b3, rook f5. Black is completely fine here. So here, after rook e5, white's best move is to play king f4. But now black takes with the rook, and now the king isn't on the annoying square on e3, which controls d4. So now knight d4 is a threat, and here black is easily fine. But after king takes c5, this earns black the tempo to get king f4 in with tempo. Now there's no rook c5, so the rook cannot stay on the 5th rank. And after rook g6, bishop d1, h4, now you can see the problem. Because now, after king f5, rook h6, now you can see the king is penetrating, and now all these pawns are weak. However, black is still completely fine here. King g5, knight d6, and here bishop c2, which guards against e4, but this wasn't the best move. The best move was to play rook e2 to guard e4 with the rook instead, and now the bishop is a lot more free. Because after bishop c2, it blocks the rook. So here, Taimanov plays knight f7 check, knight e5 check, and now here king d4, which brings rook b4, and then here Taimanov plays king c3. And after rook b5, here Taimanov plays an extremely interesting move. He plays knight f7, which is not that good of a move because this bishop is so much better than this knight. However, other than rook b5 and knight f7, if black just takes here and plays rook e5, here black has an extremely easily simplification path, so take your time and maybe you can spot it. Okay, so here, black's best move is just to play rook f6 check. And if white's king comes to this side, then white's king cannot come defend. So here, black just plays rook g6. After king f3, just rook g3 check, forces the king down. And now, after black plays g5, white should be completely safe. Actually, g5 actually isn't that good, my bad, because after rook e3, the pawn game will be winning for white. However, any other move like king d3 and now after that g5 should be completely safe. So my bad, g5 is not good. However, king d3 is completely safe. No problem there. And after this, rook f6, if king g4 is played, then here, black can play rook f2, attacks the g3 pawn and forces the trade, and one pawn is not sufficient to win in a rook pawn versus rook endgame, especially because this is a rook's pawn. After rook f1, white can't even win the g7 pawn, so this is a dead draw. The reason why knight f7 is played, according to most speculators, is that black actually wanted to play for the win here. Why? Because this is round 2 of the 6-match candidates match. Fischer won the first game. This means that Taimanov needs a win somewhere to get a better position, and this position is somewhat better than the starting position. And now Taimanov is still trying to play for the win, although after a few moves he completely regrets it. Here Fischer plays rook c5, king d4, rook f5, g5 check, and after king g4, Taimanov realizes he's gonna lose this pawn. Why? Because after rook h7, Rook d5 check forces this trade, and now this knight is going to get picked up, and all these pawns are going to fall, and now white has a lot more winning chances. But here, knight e5 has to be played, and after king takes, rook g6, king takes for rook g2. You get into the same position, but now there are minor pieces, and the addition of minor pieces benefits white a lot. Nevertheless, black still has a lot of forced draw lines. Here, Fischer plays bishop d1, again restricting the knight. But here, Taimanov has a forced line that guarantees a draw. So take your time, and I hope that you can spot how many draws that you can find and how many draws that Taimanov missed, so that you can play better endgame than Taimanov. Okay, if you guys found it, congratulations. The move here is knight g6 check. How does this force a draw? King h5 is a forced move. King e4. Bishop c2 check to guard the rook is blocked by the rook on c2. So now Fischer must defend the pawn this way. And now knight f4. King h4, and here Taimanov can take the pawn on h3 with the knight, and after king takes h3, we get into an extremely standard rook and bishop versus rook position, which is a draw if Taimanov plays well, which, after all being a super GM, he's going to play well. So this would have been a forced draw. But being in time trouble, Taimanov didn't find this, and Taimanov played rook g8, which allows Fischer to play bishop g4. And after king e4, king g3, rook g7, rook f4, king d5, rook a4, knight g6, rook a6, knight d5, king f4, rook f7, and here Taimanov just started bursting out checks, which is just bad technique. And here Fischer plays rook f6, and here Taimanov makes a huge mistake. Taimanov decides to trade rooks, and trading rooks is always not good, especially when your opponent still has a pawn. Taimanov should have just played rook g7, and this is an extremely solid way, and black should hold this easily. Instead, rook takes f6. After king f6, Taimanov makes a big blunder, king e4, and then after this, white is winning. Taimanov should have played king d6 here. After bishop f5, knight f3 will guard the square. And if something else, like bishop e6, then knight f3 continues to be played. And bishop f5 here, and black just waits, knight h4 will come, and even the pawn games are not even good, because now black draws easily. However, after king e4, this is a big blunder, and Fischer shows his endgame expertise by playing the only winning move. So I hope that you guys can spot it, so you guys can take your time, and maybe you guys can find it as well. Okay, here Fischer played the only winning move, which is bishop c8. And this is an absolute brilliant move. This move is the only way that wins. So, firstly, why does bishop going to the far corner is the only move that wins? Well, let's check it out. So, firstly, king e4 is a big blunder because the king is farther away from the square. King d6 is a lot closer. Here, white has a few moves. King e6 is the easiest way to see that it's completely drawn. So, bishop f5, king f4, and if h4 here, knight g4 check. This is also a draw. And after knight g4 check, if king e6, knight h6, this is also dead draw. If bishop e6 here, knight f3 guards that square completely. So, the only move that's left, basically, is bishop c8. And the reason why this move works is after knight f3, bishop b7 skewers the king and knight. Taimanov must have missed this. After king f4, bishop takes f3, and king g5 shields the pawn to victory. And here white is winning. And after this, king e3, bishop f3, same line, king g5. So, back here, bishop c8. So here, Taimanov cannot play knight f3. Must play king f4 first. But now, white plays h4. After knight f3, which is a blunder, h5, knight g5, zugzwang, which means that black's pieces are in the best position, but they must move. And king g6 is the lethal zugzwang, and now white is winning. Because now, if the knight moves, then h7 is played, and if the king moves, then the knight's lost. So here, Taimanov has to move the knight. After knight e5 check, king f6. In this position, Mark Taimanov cannot stop queen promotion and had to resign. So this game was an absolute masterpiece by Fischer and how he was able to convert it. And even though he made small mistakes, there's still a lot of motifs to take away from this game. First motif. Fischer did not play a well opening. Fischer was wasted way too many tempi with his bishop. Bishop f4 to e3 to g5. In the normal game, you should never ever play this. And if Taimanov played correctly, Fischer would never have a winning advantage here. Instead, guideline number 2, never be greedy for pawns. It looks like white should be worse here, but white is actually better, and you should never be too greedy for pawns, especially in the opening. Motif number 3, calculation is most important, and breaking up your opponent's pawn structure into pawn islands is also extremely useful. Motif number 4, forcing your opponent to give up the bishop pair, as the bishop pair is always an extremely good weapon in the endgame. Motif number 5, restrict the knight using your pawns. So that should be back here, b4. Finally, last one. Well, one of the last ones in the middle game. Well, the middle end game, at least. Here, playing counterintuitive moves is sometimes better. Rook d1 was not the best move. Best move playing bishop c3. Because why? Because calculation always wins, and here rook e8 is just a way too powerful move for a block. Motif number 6. A Fischer endgame is usually better for white, and that is almost always the case. Fischer endgames are always white with the advantage, and the reason for that is because bishop versus knight endgames are usually coming from white side because of how most openings work, and also that white usually gets the advantage. That's just one thing to keep in mind. That's not always the case. And here Fischer wins his pawn. And next motif, 2 squares in difference between bishop and knight. Make sure that the bishop guards all the weak squares, and make sure that white gets the disadvantage. And here Fischer messes up by playing too passively in rook a2. You shouldn't ever play passive. Instead, improve your minor pieces always. Bishop b4 is just a good move based on guidelines. So, and here Fischer had to give up his pawn. But here, a mistake by Taimanov. When you're worse, never try playing for a win. As here, there's an easy draw after king c2, but Taimanov doesn't play it, so there's nothing that Taimanov can really say about after losing, right? And here Fischer wins the pawn, and here Taimanov misses his chance of simplifying by trading his knight for that pawn. And here, king e4, king e3, rook g7, rook f4. And now all the pieces come back out, and here rook f7, too many checks, also extreme bad etiquette. And finally, the beautiful move that Fischer played, bishop c8. So, at the worst moments when it thinks that no winning chances exist, try to find the best move, even if it's a move as hard as bishop c8 in this position. And here, Taimanov had no chances, and Fischer promoted. And that's the game may continue. In this precise moment, Taimanov resigned. So I hope that you learned tons of motifs in this game, and I hope that you learned something from Robert James Fischer and what Taimanov did wrong in this game. And I hope I'll see you in the next video. Bye!